Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. hmm As you know, give me a moment. Let me post to a couple of social media sites. Mm-mm-mm. How has your weekend been? If you're coming in, tell me what city you're tuning in from. Tell me if you've learned anything from Blueprint to Black Power for Black Power. Um, yeah, please like, share, subscribe. If you can donate, donate, and don't forget to go into the description area and get those free resources if you're unaware. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Grand Rising, if you're just tuning in, please state the city you're tuning in from, what you have learned, if you've learned anything from Blueprint for Black Power. Also, what other books would you like for me to read? Okay. Now I got that posted. Yeah, Grand Rising. Okay, we got someone in here with us. I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it, Hotep family. And if you don't know what Hotep is, that's unshakable inner peace. I greet you with unshakable inner peace. Without further ado, let's get into part six. Blueprint for Black Power. Matter of fact, let me bring this back down here. Y'all already know how I do them. I already know how I do. Pardon me. I'm literally just getting up, but I was thinking about this book the entire time I was resting. Yeah. Pardon me. That's why I still got the cover on. I'm halfway in, halfway out, but I'm fully in depth. I'm fully in. I'm fully interested in the in-depthness of this book, and I like to get it in early in the morning. Start my day. So once my eyes adjust, I'll begin reading. My eyes are still adjusting. I've been up and down all night, up and down, and I just got up. I don't know what I was saying. I felt like I was asking my lady something about a flight. We were supposed to be taking a flight somewhere. I don't know, but it was a very good dream. All right. So today we're going to be talking about organized networks and power. Mm. To be organized is to be structured, to assume and operate according to a discernible pattern. Organizations systematically channel and distribute energy or force along definite pathways in order to achieve some definite outcome. Organization imposes order and direction on otherwise random, relatively diffuse, unfocused, or erratic phenomena in order to generate a focused, concentrated form of power directed toward accomplishing particular goals. A social organization is composed of two or more persons or groups of persons, each of whom, operating under centralized human control or direction, plays a more or less specialized role, each behaving as a component part of the organized whole and whose active output is channeled and coordinated in some special way in order to perform work and achieve definite outcomes. Social organizations exert influence on their component membership in such ways as to achieve definite effects on both their internal and or external environments. Again, welcome to the reading cipher. If you're just joining us, please tell us what city you're tuning in from, what books you would like us to read in the future, as well as what have you learned from Blueprint for Black Power. I appreciate you in advance. Also, check the description area to get those free resources I keep telling you about. Since a social organization wields influence, brings about changes, example, does work, it may be said to express power. The dynamic pattern of social relations or interactions between the members of a social organization provides the means by which it does its work or expresses its power. This may be said to represent a power network. That is, organization itself may be conceived of as a power network or as composed of power networks. Various organizations may coordinate their specialized activities in order to do the work or achieve the ends of a society or culture of which they are component parts. When performing their societal or cultural duties, such organizations operate as instruments of societal and or cultural power as social tools of power. Thereby are the means by which a society and or culture adapts to its world and seeks to adapt its world to its special needs or desires. Since social organizations may be conceived of as a social power network, the societies they may be said to constitute may in turn be perceived as consisting of multiple overlapping and intersecting socio-spatial networks of power. Conceiving of societies as multiple overlapping and intersecting power networks gives us the best available entry into the issue of what is ultimately primary or determining in societies. A general account of societies, their culture, and their history can be best given in terms of the interrelations of what I will call for the four sources of social power: ideological, economic, military, and political IEMP relationships. Ideological, economic, military, and political relationships. These are one, overlapping networks of social interaction, not dimensions, levels, or factors of a single social totality. This follows from my first statement. Two, they are also organizations, institutional means of attaining human goals. Their primacy comes not from the strength of human desires for ideological, economic, military, or political satisfaction, but from the particular organizational means each possesses to attain human goals, whatever they may be. The strength or power of organizations reflects their capacity to channelize and to control people, to utilize their human and material resources, interests, and or those of the larger society of which they are members or parts. Social organizations, baby, can you it's over here on my chair. Thank you, baby. Appreciate you. You are hilarious. Yo, if you don't have a fun woman, you're missing out. From the moment I get up, this lady be cracking jokes. She just started today. She just did something funny. I can't tell you it's a private joke, but she is hilarious. It's really good to wake up to someone that's pretty and fun. That's and smart. That's you know. Let me get back into this before I got distracted momentarily. I'm gonna just start it all over. The strength or power of organizations reflects their capacity to channelize and control people, to utilize their human and material resources, interests, and those of the larger society of which they are members or parts. Social organizations, as power networks, are structured forms of social control and simultaneously are the means of attaining social control. The four sources of social power, as designated by Mann, MANN, the ideological, economic, military, and political, offer alternative organizational means of social control. As the means of structurally transforming and enhancing human relations and capacities, social organizations of various types can often facilitate fundamental social changes and radical changes in the social power relations which hitherto characterized a particular society or social situation. Social organization amplifies power. Mm. Social organization amplifies power. I must post this later today. I got to post that. Social organization amplifies power. It is a collective source of power in that it involves a means by which persons may enhance their joint power over third parties or their environments by cooperating with each other. Collective power, example. The power of a group as a whole may be maximized by its distributive power, that is, by its internal organization and division of function or labor, the specialization of function at appropriate levels, and the coordination of functions through supervision and under central direction. Collective power is enhanced and stabilized in a social group to the degree that its control is institutionally based on commonly accepted values, rules, laws, and norms. Cultures and societies normally achieve their routine goals through institutionalizing much of their social behavior and activities by founding and operating institutions designed to organize social attitudes and behaviors toward the accomplishment of certain tasks. Weakly organized groups, groups which lack collective organization or whose collective organizations are inadequate, are vulnerable to being, or in actuality, organizationally outmaneuvered by more powerfully organized groups. Yo, that was deep. That was real deep and very plain, though. I would like to read that again, so let me. Cultures and societies normally achieve their routine goals through institutionalizing much of their social behavior and activities by founding and operating institutions designed to organize social attitudes and behavior toward the accomplishment of certain tasks. Weekly, Weakly, weekly. I'm going to make a statement about this. This is why I'm reading it again. Weakly organized groups, groups which lack collective organization or whose collective organizations are inadequate, are vulnerable to being, or in actuality, organizationally outmaneuvered by more powerfully organized groups. The weaker group may be thereby forced to comply with the demands of the stronger due to the greater power and tactical advantages held by the latter group, or the compliance of the weakest group is obtained by having been forcibly integrated into inferior or subordinate positions within the confines of the collective and distributive social class or stratification power organizations controlled by the stronger group. The statement I wanted to make was about intent. There's a lot of people that be saying like, oh, have no form and move like water. They speak in parables and metaphors like they're Bruce Lee, and it sounds great. Unfortunately, if you don't have the intention, and you must be intentive with what it is that you want to acquire, especially when you're speaking about a group. You can't just have a group and don't have any form of structure. He just broke it down. I'm not even going to read it again, but just just listen to the last two or three. Matter of fact, go and buy the book, Blueprint for Black Power. He just read and just basically stated why these groups always get wiped out or get taken over or outmaneuvered by other groups, because we lack the discipline and the capacity to organize on a structured level. A lot of people don't want to follow rules. They want to participate to the level in which they want to participate. But when it comes to us gaining what's rightfully ours, we have to agree on some key things. And one of those things is structure. All that formlessness and all of that, listen, man, do life look like it's formless? There's structure in life. It's needed. It's the one thing that you wouldn't have these streets if structure wasn't needed. You know what I'm saying? It it gives you a pathway, right? And this the crazier part. This is what's also interesting. Not having or not choosing a direct pathway, right? Just anybody can do anything. Like all of a sudden, anybody can be anything. Men can be women. Women can be men. I'm not in agreement with that. I respect if someone decides that that's the reality that they want to participate in, but that is not reality. Not for me or for people like me. I can respect people who think that way, but when we get when things become embroiled and we get confused and anything can be everything, there's no structure. One of the things that I was interested in or I was concerned about when I seen that men can be women or women can be men according to what they say nowadays is, well, what's going to happen when one of these men that prefer to be recognized as a woman or she or whatever term they or pronoun they prefer, what happens when they walk into a bathroom or are in the bathroom where women feel offended that they're using the bathroom, right? I remember seeing something about a guy that um, I don't know all of the pronouns and I don't know all of that stuff, but I know that he was incarcerated with the females and got two of them pregnant. I think. I mean, it's just common sense, man. Certain things, there's a structure, there's a physical structure, right? And we have to follow suit. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not telling you you got to do this, you got to do that. That ain't my job. I'm just reading some information and I'm commenting about structure. People will tell you that this means this and try to change the definition of what it means. And now everything is embroiled or mixed up and confusing. And that's not how we to be. We can't just be assuming formlessness. There are certain things that you got to just stand on and just know, even if the rest of the world telling you, oh no, you could be this. Oh no, blue isn't blue, red isn't red. Don't don't play into that, man. Remember Wade Nobles, and I believe it was someone else that stated it first, but he said it the best to me and said it the most. Power is the ability to define reality and have other people adapt your definition of reality as if it were their own. Do not let these people influence you to adopt their reality as if it's your own. It's not. You define your reality. Now that doesn't mean that I gotta disrespect the next man or woman for their choices or whatever. My point is, we can't be out here just assuming formlessness and thinking that we're going to create a concrete outcome. You can't. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. You can't sit here and say, "Hey, I want to buy houses," and you're not doing anything to learn about buying houses, and you're just saying it. I know a lot of people call that manifesting. That's not manifesting. I'm sorry. It's not manifesting. If you didn't know, I'm letting you know that's not manifesting. You know what manifesting is? Manifesting is when you decide this is exactly what I want. And you start figuring out, studying, researching, um, concentrating on it, and driving towards it, right? When you start taking that action that produces the results, when you research what actions produce these results, who produced these results, what is it that I can do that they did so that I can get to where they are so that I can have what they have. When you start doing that, that's where the manifestation comes from. Nothing is going to happen. I know a lot of people that pray, but ain't nothing going to happen until they get up off their knees and start taking action. The ultimate success formula states that um, if you want a desired outcome, what you must do is have the sensory acuity to know what you're getting from your actions. First of all, you must take massive action. Massive action. That means being uncomfortable, doing things you're not used to, learning things you don't know, and being humble enough and brave enough to fail and learn those things until you get right. Right? That's really what it is. And having a sensory acuity to notice the difference that you're getting from your results and to keep switching up the way you take action or the things that you do to get the result until you get that desired result. Learning from what you're getting from what you're doing and switching it up until you get what you need to get, right? I know it ain't exactly that. I haven't read that book in a while, and I know I sort of went way off, but my point is we can't keep assuming this formlessness. And another thing about that formlessness, right? And again, I'm not saying this to offend anyone. This is just my thoughts. I still got lots of room to grow, lots of things to learn and know, right? We got ADOS, we got FBA, we got brothers and sisters that want to be Native American, all of these things, right? But the original people were African, okay? I don't care what ethnicity you claim, they were birthed from Africans some way, somehow. With that being said, when you notice that we're not in the NAFTA agreements, no country in the diaspora or the Caribbean or on the continent, right? None of us. We're not in the NAFTA agreements. You got all of these nations forming themselves against people that look like you and me. So the race war was started a long time ago, and everybody's been stepping on our necks. And until we decide just to stand up, they're going to continue to do it. So I'm telling you, put all of that aside, because before you had a gender, yeah, before you had a gender, before you had height, before you had eye color, guess what you had? You had the DNA of Africans. It's in your DNA. I don't care that you don't know where you come from. It's in your DNA. And if it's not, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, not in reference to this book, this material, this information. I'm not talking to you. I appreciate you for joining, but I'm not actually speaking to you. You know, we go back so far, we want to be everything other than what we've been told not to be. But who told us not to be that? Why have we practiced everything other since we've been over here? Think about it. And if you can't think that far, you need to start listening to Dr. Khalid Muhammad. You need to start listening to Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Sheikh Anthony Diab, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Leonard Jeffrey. I could keep going on. You know what I mean? Like you Wade Nobles. You know what I mean? Shahrazad Ali. Shar McIntyre. I can't remember how to pronounce her name, but she's awesome too. And I mean, there is countless others. I could definitely get into Bobby Hemmett. We could keep going. Dr. Bobby E. Wright, Dr. Jawanza. We could just keep going, fam. That's just Walter Williams. I could keep going for days, right? My point is, we are the descendants of the original people, and we must look at one another like we are one another's brothers and sisters, because we are. We may not know everything, but we know way more than enough to know that people like us all over the earth. And if you don't believe me, check out Marcus Garvey's book, Race First. Oh man, that's dope. Everywhere he went, he traveled all over the earth, and everywhere he went. And not just that, what about the great ancestor that just recently passed, I believe last year, Dr. Runoko Rashidi, the historian? He may not be a doctor. I don't know. To me, he is, because he was analytical with what he did. And he was very consistent, and he was very sharp. But he went all over, and everywhere he went, he's seen people that look like you and me domiciled. That's not by circumstance. That's not by chance. That was intentional by the people that tend to oppress us. So let's get back into this book. There go my eyeballs messing with me again. The ability of a social group to defend its independence or to be liberated from domination is related to its extensive power, that is, its ability to organize large numbers of people over far-flung territories in order to engage in minimally stable cooperation. Its intensive power, its ability to organize tightly and command a high level of mobilization or commitment from the participants, whether the area and members covered are great or small. Its authoritative power, the degree to which participants willingly comply to the commands and recommendations of its legitimate institutions and authorities, and its diffused power, that is, to the degree to which participants spontaneously, consciously, and unconsciously, individually and of their own free will, engage in similar social practices that embody power relations but are not explicitly commanded, based on an understanding that these practices are natural or moral or result from self-evident common interest. It should be noted that it is diffused power, power generated spontaneously based on commonly held attitudes, values, and modes of behavior, which facilitates the conspiring of one group against another without their conspiracy being deliberately planned and executed by any one person, group, or groups within them. At times, cultures, societies, and various types of social organizations may be conceived of as conspiracies, as the means whereby persons cooperate towards an end, whether good or evil, their effects on their own and other groups being more determined by the very compelling logic of their shared beliefs and practices than by the machinations. I got to write this word down. That's going to be the next word to define. That's going to be the next word to grow on. Machinations. I know y'all like, man, I know what that word is. I don't, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't know. What I do know, I'm willing to admit that I know, and what I don't know, I'm very willing to admit that I don't know. I'm humble. I'm not the best reader. I'm not the best teacher. I do what I can with what I have, and I'm appreciative for it all. Mhm. At times, cultures, societies, and various types of social organizations may be conceived of as conspiracies, as the means whereby persons cooperate towards an end, whether good or evil. Their effects on their own and other groups being more determined by the very compelling logic of their shared beliefs and practices than by the machinations, machinations of some apparent or secretive group within them, consciously pursuing some particular goal. Extensive, intensive, authoritative, and diffused power tend toward maximization in modern nation states or cultural groups who are exceedingly conscious of their special status and are proactively and effectively organized, have established strong solidarities based on commonalities of ethnicity, language, custom, religion, values, a sense of superiority, a strong sense of mission, and the determination to dominate others or to liberate themselves from or to protect themselves against domination by others. These powers, to the extent to which they are socially accepted and supported, effectively organized and coordinated, are realistically and relevantly based on a sound knowledge of the nature of its current social, political, and economic universe by the group that exercises them. These powers coalesce to maximally enhance that group's social power by making maximum use of its collective human and material resources. Note that the emphasis in the prior statement is in one group organization, attitude, support, and use of its collective resources. Collective identity, consciousness, intentionality, and solidarity are the key determinants as to whether a group recognizes the resources it has in its possession and whether and how it will use those resources. Let me repeat so that this can sum up what I was saying with all of that mumble jumble that I just said a couple of minutes ago. Collective identity, consciousness, intentionality, and solidarity are the key determinants as to whether a group recognizes the resources it has in its possession and whether and how it will use those resources. For as wrong cogently states, I don't know what that word is either. Cogently. I'm about to write these down because I'm running into words I don't even know. And that's a good thing. That means I'm still growing, I'm still learning. Machinations, I don't know how to pronounce machinations. And what did I just say? Cogently, whatever that is. I'm gonna find out. I'll tell you that. For as wrong cogently states, possession of means or resources that may be employed to wield power over others is not. Well, hold on, I might have messed that up. Is not, however, any guarantee that they will in fact be so employed. To paraphrase Wrong's statement in regard to individuals, groups may possess power resources without using them at all, or more commonly, using them only to pursue non-political goals. Wrong very astutely points out the social factors whose operative presence is necessary for converting potential collective resources and power into kinetic resources and power, social organization and collective identity. He notes the following. Social organization and collective identity are clearly matters of degree with respect to which groups or social categories vary widely. But organization and identity or solidarity are themselves the fundamental collective resources underlying and making possible the mobilization of all others. Emphasis added. The most obvious collective resources are those created by the pooling of individual resources for employment in the service of a common aim. Let me repeat that. The most obvious collective resources are those created by the pooling of individual resources for employment in the service of a common aim. The most non-reducible or global property. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. The most important collective resources are unambiguously classifiable as non-reducible or global properties of groups, namely solidarity and organization. They constitute, in fact, the major defining attributes of a group itself in the sociological sense as distinct from mere population or statistical category. Collective resources resulting from the aggregation of individual resources, as well as group size and job or skill monopoly, which I have chosen to consider non reducible collective resources, can only be mobilized for political uses or even acquire existence as collective resources because of the prior achievement of a degree of minimal solidarity and organization by a plurality of individuals. Baby, do you think I should read that again? Because that was deep and I caught it, but I don't think people might have caught it the way I read it. I read it the way I understand and receive information. So maybe I should read it again, eh? My queen told me to read it slowly because I be doing too much. She called me extra, but I'm not. But she right most of the time. So, social organization and collective identity are clearly matters of degree with respect to which groups or social categories vary widely. But organization and identity or solidarity are themselves the fundamental collective resources underlying and making possible the mobilization of all others. The most obvious collective resources are those created by the pooling of individual resources for employment in the service of a common aim. The most important collective resources are unambiguously classifiable as non reducible or global properties of groups, namely solidarity and organization. They constitute, in fact, the major defining attributes of a group itself in the sociological sense as distinct from a mere population or statistical category. Collective resources resulting from the aggregation of individual resources, as well as a group size and job or skill monopoly, which I have chosen to consider non reducible collective resources, can only be mobilized for political uses or even acquire existence as collective resources because of the prior achievement of a degree of minimal solidarity and organization by a plurality of individuals. Both solidarity and social organization can be subdivided into a number of variable aspects, which might also be regarded as distinct collective resources. Solidarity includes the degree of awareness of boundaries between group members and non-members, the familiar Sumnerian in group out, in group out group distinction, the intensity of mutual emotional identifications with one another based on a sense of similarity or consciousness of kind, rituals symbolizing belonging and collective identity, and so on. Social organization comprises the degree and complexity of division of labor, the presence of leadership or a power structure, rules governing interactions between members and between members and outsiders, and much else. These different aspects of solidarity and social organization amount, of course, to well known variable characteristics of what sociologists call social structure. The crucial importance of social solidarity to group survival and the group's effective use of power to secure its survival and for other important purposes can hardly be overstated. Social solidarity not only facilitates the maximum use of already available group resources, but social solidarity in pursuit of common goals in conjunction with effective social organization and leadership is of critical importance to the creation of collective resources, the means by which social power is generated and exercised. The crucial importance of ethnic identity or solidarity and social organization among Africans in America and their relationship to that community's ability to exercise extensive and intensive and authoritative and diffuse power in order to successfully counter to domination by white American community underlies the white community's unceasing efforts to atomize the black community into a merge, into a mere aggregate of disunited individuals lacking or weak in social solidarity and organization. I'd like to highlight this last part of that sentence. White American community underlies, no, yeah, underlies the white American community's unceasing efforts to atomize the black community into a mere aggregate of disunited individuals lacking or weak in social solidarity and organization. Disunited individuals. Interesting. Sources of organizational power. Horton and Hunt correctly point out that the struggle for power often appears to be largely a contest between organizations. The power of highly organized groups is only checked by the opposition of other groups. These authors further delineate a number of sources of organizational power and some factors which affect group power. Wealth in numbers and specialized facilities. The obvious advantage of organization is that it brings together the efforts of a large number of people along with a great deal of wealth. When an organization represents millions, it has at least a potential claim to speak for a considerable fraction of the population. An organization can accumulate a large treasury from the dues and smallest contributions of many members. By joining together, even the poor and unknown may gain some of the attributes of power often attributed to the elite. If you look at the history of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, you'll see that Marcus Garvey were asking people to donate whatever they could, and I think it was even up to like $3. And with that, they built a military, hospitals. They had the Black Cross nurses. They had porters. They had all kinds of businesses. And I mean, it was just measly. Can you just imagine all Black people contributing $3 a month and creating at least the main Black bank, a franchise of Black urgent cares, Black Cross nurses specifically, a franchise of online homeschooling by Black teachers for Black children, and more importantly, and also just as equally as important, I'm not going to say more importantly, the Black protection and defense system. You dig? Oh, how am I going to forget? We got to get our own food too. You know, our own land so that we can farm and protect them and keep our enemies and competitors away, right? So, yeah, man, just $3. I believe that the Black church gets something like 14 million or 14 billion every Sunday. I could be wrong. I think it's like 14 million every Sunday. And I'm not knocking the Black church in essence, as you know, I'm not in agreement with any other religion at all. However, in terms of organization, they have a lot of our people's attention. But I ask you this: we got mega churches and a whole bunch of pastors and deacons and members of the treasury board or whatever. They look good. They got property, but the masses that support with their what do you call it? It's been a while since I've been at church. What's that called? It's not called dues. It's called tithes. Tithes and offering. The masses of people that's giving up tithes and offering on a weekly basis, on Sunday for Sunday school and for service and for the sermon. Don't forget, prayers on Wednesday or Tuesday or Saturday, Friday service, and don't be a member of the don't be a member of the choir or a usher or altar boy or a member of the praise team. And I could keep going. And that's just the stuff that I know of. There's stuff that I don't know of because I really don't participate in that vicinity, right? But where are the mass franchises of Black healthcare systems, Black defense lawyers? I mean, all this money is going here, right? All this money going there. But we don't have our own schools, our own banks. And I'm not talking about the individual, because I do know, like, there's an Elder Robinson, a Pastor Robinson, and I believe his wife is also a pastor. I think they're co-pastors, and they're wonderful people. So I'm not knocking anybody. Whatever you believe, it's not my right to tell you what to believe. It's my right to read what I'm reading and convey my thoughts, because I have my own right to express my own opinion. That doesn't make me right. But, that's what I do. Ain't nobody else doing it. This is my lane, right? But they created their own school, and I can vouch for them. At least they're doing something to make a difference in their community with their own money. They're not just taking people's money and keep telling them just to pray to sky and God and things gonna get better, and ain't nothing getting better and everything is going up, and they don't know what to do because they don't know how to switch up how they think, how they go and get money. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much information out here, man. Watch how fast things start switching up. Look at the price of food. It's higher than it's ever been. And I know because I got a woman, but all my life food been my girlfriend. You could look at my belly and tell. Oh, I'm doing good. I lost some weight and all of that, but don't play with me about my food now, right? But yeah, man, we got all of this money being directed. This is power. This is a form of power. Imagine it's just saying, yo, we're not donating nothing to the church or anything, not because you don't like the church or you don't support it or you won't go, but why not donate to a cause where, man, I don't have to worry. You know how many black women go to the hospital? Pardon me. I think I got some smoke in my lungs from like some sage or some Palo Santo. I'm seeing a little bit of stars. Go ahead and laugh because I'm gonna be all right. I refuse to die until I complete doing what I came to do, and I'm nowhere near. You good, baby? I think it's also my hunger. So I got up today to read without eating because I don't want to be smacking and all of that. I'm not trying to be annoying and obnoxious, but when I listen to that bothered me. And my hair was wet, so when I went to sleep last night, I didn't really catch a cold, but when I wake up, I'll be under the weather. It'll take my body like an hour or two to adjust. I think that's the reason why my eyes are so blurry. But yeah, I just want y'all to think about that, man. Think about that. I mean, as a child, I gave so much energy to the church, and I never seen the reward from it. And I wasn't looking for like, yo, I should get this or I could get that. I would have loved to have to know that my money went to build a black school for black children, to build a black hospital for black people. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying about black women. Y'all know that black women are treated. They ain't the only ones, but on large accord, they rely on these doctors. These doctors do not treat our women fair, just like the criminal justice system does not treat our black men or youth fair. Nowadays, they doing the same thing to women. We need our own. We need our own everything, our own everything. Ownership is everything. Anything less is unacceptable. I believe I got that from the brother. What's my brother name at the African Heritage Food Co-op in Buffalo? Alex. Alex, right? Yeah. I think I seen that. I got a shirt. I still got it. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, let me get back into the book. Does anybody know what I was saying last? If you're just joining, tell us what city you're joining in from. What have you learned from Blueprint for Black Power? What other books would you like to read? And again, go into the description section and get those free resources because it's the least I can do for now. And as I get better, I'll give better, you know? When an organization represents millions, a great deal of wealth, it has at least a potential to claim, it has at least a potential claim to speak for a considerable fraction of the population. An organization can accumulate a large treasury from the dues and small contributions of many members. By joining together, even the poor and unknown may gain some of the attributes of power often attributed to the elite. That's why if you're in Buffalo, New York, I'm telling you, just for the purpose of coming together and to build our own, please start attending the Merriweather Library on Jefferson and East Utica Streets every Monday, unless it's closed, at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. From there, we can build and branch out and do more, meet other places, even buy another building. But for now, that is our meeting place. That is our place to come. That is our moment in time to have our own space and speak our own thoughts and express ourselves, all of us. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. African Conscious Workshop, Jefferson and East Utica Streets, Merriweather Library. Bring your loved ones. The specialized facilities of the organization also increase its influence. Its individual members may make their views known through the activities of the organizational lobbyist who is constantly in contact with those who make government decisions. Coordinated membership response. The major source of organizational power lies in the ability to enable many people to take planned, concerted action to affect social decisions. Organizations can exert power through A, some form of coercion, either through force or through nonviolent coercion. B, the organization of blocks of voters or activists to influence government policy, nonviolent coercion through economic pressure, and occasional use of violence. Size and organization of power. While large groups are not always effective, a large membership does give them a large power potential. Large organizations become highly active and overwhelmingly powerful when their vital interests are threatened. Cohesiveness and action orientation. Solitary groups, which can unite their members in a given program, have a great advantage over loosely structured organizations, which must seek agreement through an education and decision process and may seldom be able to count on a concerted response from their members. Perceived role as a power factor. The members of an organization have an image of what kinds of activities are proper for the organization, and this image limits the areas in which it can exercise power. The power of an organization is also limited by the role assigned to it by the community. Thus, the public's perceived role of an organization or group limits its social power by determining the public support its actions will receive. Organizational alliances. Some of the advantages of large size may be one if smaller groups join in united action. This alliance is simplified when the organizations involved are led by interlocking directorates. Thus, an overlapping network of membership links the organizations together. Making for easy cooperation and vesting control of many organizations in a very small group of persons. An alliance between entirely separate groups may be forged when their interests converge. Countervailing power. The opposite tendency of organized groups to oppose each other rather than to cooperate has been given the name of countervailing power by Galbraith in 1952. Galbraith, Galbraith, in 1952. This theory states that the exercise of great power to inspire the organization of opposing power usually keeps any one group from gaining complete control. Social power of unorganized masses, the expression of mass power. Horton and Hunt, in addition to discussing the factors affecting group power, briefly list some of the means by which the unorganized masses can exert a decisive power over social developments. The power of mass markets. In a democratic society, the masses exert influence through their choices of what goods to buy, what papers to read, what television programs to watch, and so on. But in a competitive market, the consumer's preferences are rarely disregarded for very long. Therefore, the masses may exert influence and power through choosing to buy or not to buy certain goods and services in order to achieve certain social, political, and economic ends. Mass veto power through non-cooperation. Some decisions can become effective only through mass cooperation. Wherever a decision cannot be effective without mass cooperation, the veto power of the masses must be considered. The masses through non-cooperation, passive resistance, may exert power to bring about change. Direct political power of the masses. Who holds the reins of power in our society? No single group, for power is of several kinds and is very diffused among many groups. The paradox of power in the 20th century is that although our society is largely controlled by highly organized groups dominated by an elite leadership, this leadership may be blocked by the action of normally unorganized and apathetic masses of men whose basic attitudes towards life are often sharply different from those of the influentials who normally set the pace. Even this pace-setting function of the elite is restricted by the need to draw in the participation of the masses as consumers, workers, and participants. The masses may use the elite's need for their support and participation as leverage for getting the elite to act in their interest. To Horton and Hunt's list, we have added one of our own, which follows. Breaking the habit of obedience. Obsequious. Excessively obedient. The social order and social power relations of a society depend on a habit of obedience, of a critical mass of its members to be viable and stable. Let me read that again. Breaking the habit of obedience. The social order and social power relations of a society depend on the habit of obedience of a critical mass of its members To be viable and stable, social systems consisting of dynamically structured power relations between persons and groups, require conventionalized responses to authority, other social symbols, and signals. If a critical mass of society's members fail to emit the appropriate behavioral responses, the social system tends toward destabilization and may eventually bring about its breakdown. Most often, the institutional or social chains of command is not perceived by those subject to most often, the institutional or social chain of command is not perceived by those subject to it as coercive and as an expression of dominance by a particular social class for which the command structure is designed to undemocratically benefit. The chain of command or class structure is generally perceived by those who benefit from it or who are oppressed by it as functionally necessary. In this instance, compliant behavior, even when such behavior perpetuates gross inequities, is seen as morally compelling as right and proper in and of itself. As Parenti argues, and we're almost finished for today, at least for this part of part 6, I believe we're on. Obedience in such case is not felt as submission to the interests of the powerful, but as proper constructive behavior of a person's who freely accepts responsibility. It is not uncommon for people to make a virtue of the necessities they face, and that way are their life situations made more bearable for them. Of interest to us is the function of such propensities for organizational control. This attitude of obedience, disseminated among subordinates in any institutional structure or within the entire society, becomes a social norm, acting as both an externalized and internalized force for compliance upon the individual. Emphasis added. In an unjust social order, an order where one group abusively dominates the other, the habit of obedience in the subordinate or abused groups functions to maintain that order. Subordinate groups thereby collude with the dominant group to perpetuate its own subordination and exploitation. This situation can only be charged by the destabilization and breakdown of unjust social order, by radically reorganizing its structure of power relations. And this can only be brought about by the subordinate group's refusal to comply with the demands of the dominant group, the compliance with which are often responsible for or crucial to maintaining the onerous social order in the first place. The subordinate group must break its habits of obedience and engage in civil disobedience. It was primarily through civil disobedience that Gandhi broke the social order of British colonialism in India, and Martin Luther King Jr. radically transformed the social order of the Southern United States. Civil disobedience is one of the primary means by which the masses of the oppressed may successfully oppose the power of a dominant oligarchy, 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 oligarchy. Well, if you know what it is, let me know. Tell me. Go ahead and laugh. This is not supposed to be just so much draining and informational. It's also fun. When you see me make mistakes, please go ahead and laugh. I'm not just here so that we can learn and have fun at the same time. So if you see me saying something funny, go ahead and let me know. I don't mind. I hope I make you laugh. I really do. I hope I also interest you with the information as well. Now, where was I? Civil disobedience is one of the primary means by which the masses of the oppressed may successfully oppose the power of the dominant oligarchy. Oligarchy. Breaking the habit of obedience on the part of the oppressed may not only include the refusal to cooperate with unjust laws, but may include boycotting and refusal to consume certain goods and services sold by the dominant group, disrupting the social and behavioral routines and machinery which maintain the operations of the dominant social order, and by devaluing the commercial and cultural output products and values of the dominant group. An example of this would be us not participating in Thanksgiving, Halloween, any of these European holidays, especially Christmas. And the reason I'm saying that is, who makes the money at Christmas? Now, don't get me wrong. There are Black people that own businesses that do produce products and service. I'm one of them. My queen is one of them. But if you look at us en masse, we're the main consumers in everyone else's business, particularly here in the wilderness of North America. What would happen if we would have retained those dollars and not only keep them, just put them in black banks and only spend them with one another? You want me to tell you what would happen? What would happen is that these people that's in power will begin to talk to their constituents, the people that work for them, the politicians. Yeah, they're gonna tell them, listen, I'm gonna need y'all to figure out something. Get a stimulus package to these people, do something. And the stimulus package that we're looking for is the $100 trillion that they owe our ancestors for the labor that they weren't compensated on. And I ain't just talking about the slaves, the prisoners of war, because I don't like to call them slaves, because they were definitely prisoners of war, because they did not kidnap just vagrants and bums in Africa. They kidnapped mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, cousins, grandparents, uncles, aunties, nieces, nephews. They also kidnapped doctors, lawyers, engineers. You know what I mean? What is that? It's just on the tip of my tongue. Those that build things, especially structures. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Architects. This is who they kidnapped. This is the reason why they was able to build over here, right? Stripped us of our language and forced us to do that. And then even after that, there was a black tax. Like, you were able to work, but you didn't have any resources. You didn't have anywhere to live. You couldn't pay to live anywhere. And you couldn't look white people in the eye. You couldn't spit in front of none of these things. You see what I'm saying? And while you worked, you were still being mistreated, and you never were given the opportunity to get up on your own. And then if you did, let's say you did get some land. Let's say you did start a business like in Tulsa or Rosewood or on Jefferson Avenue in Buffalo, New York. They came and extorted you, killed you, and ran you up out of your spot, burnt your business down, took your merchandise, stripped you of your goods. Come on, man. These people, they did all kinds of things, and they ain't never compensated us for that. But they want to talk about what's going on in Ukraine and elsewhere. Man, listen. We've been at war over here all this time. Until you start doing something for us here, don't say nothing to me about nobody else. Nothing. Where was I? Sometimes social disruption is the only expression of social power left to the masses. That's the situation we are in, Black people. Let me repeat that. Sometimes social disruption is the only expression of social power left to the masses. Of course, such actions as just discussed may be adjunctively supported by petition and letter writing campaigns, political demonstrations, marches, protests, and pickets. I ain't with none of that. I want to hit them where it hurt, right in their pocket, because that's the one thing that they don't play about is their money. Once you start messing with their money, and I promise you this, stop buying Nikes. Stop watching these television programs. Stop listening to the radio. Watch what's gonna happen. They ain't gonna know what to do. They gonna come to you like, man, what can we do? We sorry. Sorry ain't enough though. See, the action behind your apology is gonna prove all of that. And what we need you to do is cut that check. Yeah, we need you to cut that check. Also, Black people shouldn't have to pay taxes at all. And we should be able to do free trade amongst our nations ourselves. It doesn't need to be supervised by y'all. Nah, we don't need any of that. We do our own checks and balances. We govern ourselves. African sovereignty or nothing at all, family. So I'm going to stop there. I know I'll be going in, but it's all good, man. Somebody got to do it, I hope your today is great and your tomorrow is greater. Please do me a favor. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, the all notification bell, if you will. If you can feature me on your channel, I definitely appreciate it. And at the least, even if you can't donate monetarily, could you please share? Could you please like? I appreciate it, and I thank you in advance. And anyone that does share or does donate, may the ancestors return your donation 1,000 times over. I hope your today is great and tomorrow is greater. Hotep family, at all times, race first, and race first at all times. I think I said that backwards. Race first at all times, and at all times, race first. Hotep family. See you on the next one.